Welcome, everybody. My name is Ndusi Nichai, also known as Coach Deuce, and I want to welcome you to today's session of Menimpactchange's Mentor Point. In the Focus on Mental Wellness Series 3 is Sustaining a Healthy Lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we really appreciate each and every one of you for dedicating this time to share your knowledge and your expertise with our community. We also appreciate everyone that's joining us live on Zoom and live on Facebook. And according to the World Health Organization, a healthy lifestyle is a complete state of mental, physical, and social well-being. The very first question is, we cannot fix what we cannot understand. In your opinion, what are some factors that have contributed to unhealthy lifestyle? And I'm going to start with Dr. Stroder and then Dr. Kojo. You can go next.
Probably 18 to 25. A lot of, I think the distraction is, of course, what we hear people talk about is internet. I work at a STEM university, so a lot of gaming. So that seems to be one of the unhealthy lifestyles where people are actually describing themselves as inside people. They don't like to go outside, they don't like to exercise, they don't really make time for that. It's either their classes or their gaming. So I would say that's one initial one. I'm not saying that all gaming is bad, I don't want to be hypercritical, but that it has definitely shifted from guys going outside to play basketball or go for a run. They get a lot of their adrenaline from this gaming. So I would say that's one factor.
Yeah, I would say, the lack of education, when people are not educated properly or when the education out there is not accurate, it's going to contribute to an unhealthy lifestyle because, now, like Dr. Stroger said earlier, it's so easy to be in the house, and to play games or whatever you do in the house, but it's so easy to order food. We don't have to go to the store. We can get DoorDash, Instacart. We can get things like digitally sent to us. So there's less of a need to interact with people. But sometimes just by isolating yourself, you open yourself up to so many mental health issues, and you might not even know that. So I think people not having the information, rarely, you have all kinds of information, but if you don't have the information that you need at that moment, you might continue to live an unhealthy lifestyle.
Just to add to what our panelists already said, I think that the culture that we live in promotes a lot of competition, and that competition can be unhealthy. And the things that we strive for as individuals aren't things that are necessarily real or that are healthy. And I think technology has just magnified that. So younger people today are aspiring to be and have things that are counter or in contrast with living a healthy lifestyle, but it's popular, it's the thing to do, it's the way to be, and it's just taking over society.
Randall?
I think one of the things that helps us to lead a healthy lifestyle is taking the time to know and learn yourself. I think having self-understanding is so very important because you can have all the education in the world, you can be as smart as whatever, but if you don't understand what makes you move or who you are, whether it's spiritually, personally, you have to know you so that when others say things about you that is either true or not true, you can decipher which one you want to accept or which one you want to improve on. But in my early 20s, I started meditating to learn about me and understanding who I would want me to be. And that really set me on a path. And another thing that I realized in having a healthy lifestyle is we all have to understand it's not going to happen overnight. We have to take time to develop and grow ourselves and move in a direction that's going to be positive. Because whatever energy you're putting out there, whatever feelings you have, it's really going to come back. So let's focus on having a positive life and positive thinking, and that will come back to you in return.
Research shows that millennials are the most educated generation. Absolutely. However, they are the most unhealthy. with a mortality rate of over 40%,
Yes.
which is more than Gen Zers of the same age.
Yes.
Why is this so, and what are some of the things that we can do to change this?
But you made an exceptionally great point when you talk about when you're going through transition, it's going to become difficult and it's going to be very, very painful. And I can tell you that in my own experience. I mean, I am a former military person and I got promoted along the way in many, and every time I got a promotion, it was difficult for me. I was happy about the promotion, but it meant a transition in my life. And even when I transitioned from being an enlisted member to becoming an officer, it always pushed me in a very uncomfortable space. Because even though I appreciated the fact that I got promoted, I'm moving up in my own personal life, I kind of wanted to hold on to the people that were at the same, that I've been accustomed to at that level. I mean, here I am, I'm having so much fun. I had a show earlier. We talk a lot about these kind of things in my earlier show, and here we are tonight. Continue. It's been a long day for me, but I'm enjoying the flow.
Yeah, great points. Anyone want to share Sonia's question in addition?
I'll just briefly add that I think with the younger generation is how they define success and how they view success. And that really challenges a lot of how they live their lives, right? And their view of success stems from their social connections. And so they observe their social connections and they define their success patterns around that. And they oftentimes see themselves as lacking based on the social connectivity. But we all know that the social connectivity and the platforms allow us to promote the best of our lives. And so young people are trying to compete with the best of everything that everybody is sharing, and it's very unrealistic and it's challenging their mental health.
Absolutely. So we have to redefine how we view success. Randall?
Well, one of the things, as I was saying earlier, and I want to give an example of using a negative situation as fuel. My mom died when I was 10 years old. I used my mother's death as fuel for me as I grew through life, by saying that I made an early decision. I think maybe I was 10 when my mom died. I think it was about 11 or 12 when I made this decision in my life, that if my mom were to come back tomorrow or tonight and walk in this room, she would have a son that she would be proud of. That's number one. So in my teenage years, when people were applying peer pressure and wanted to introduce me to drugs or bad habits or do things, I always remember that if my mom were to walk back in the room, she would want to have a son that was not on drugs, was not doing negative things, and that she would have a son that she would be proud of.
Absolutely. Dr. Koja?
Yeah, I'll say in addition to the self-awareness, I think, people, not only just the young people, but everybody, we need a safe space to be able to speak on what we realize when we become self-aware, because some of those things are uncomfortable, they're embarrassing, or you might realize that you're not, equipped to do certain things and that you're better at this, right? And with social media and, peer pressure, there's this thing that, the youth call FOMO, like a fear of missing out. Sometimes you feel like if you're not doing this thing, you're going to be missing out on all these different opportunities. But once you become self-aware, you might recognize that you're really good at this thing, and you focus on that, you can get to where you want to be. But sometimes when you become self-aware and you realize that, okay, I'm good at this, but then I have a problem with this, without the knowledge and information to act on that, you're kind of like stuck in the middle, because now you know that there's a problem, but you feel like you're not equipped to handle it. And then you get into helplessness and hopelessness. And sometimes that could contribute to the depression, right? I don't think it's always like a chemical imbalance. Sometimes it's environmental factors that lead into it. But I think with this self-awareness, also having empathy for other people and ourselves, to give us the safe space so we can become, the best version of who we want to be.
So non-financial legacy is the most important way of sustaining a healthy lifestyle. What are your thoughts about, or what is your understanding of non-financial, the non-financial, what's the term? Legacy.
When I hear the term non-financial legacy, to me, it means that you can leave behind other things besides money, right? You can leave behind a lifestyle. You can leave behind a mindset or a perspective. I think when I think about my parents in their journey from Ghana to the US, the one thing that I've gained the most from them is their perseverance, their tenacity, and their work ethic. And to me, that is their legacy. They raised children in a country that was foreign, dealing with all of the mental health challenges I'm sure that we all are known to be aware of. We all turned out great. They're still doing well, and they have a tremendous legacy around that. So that's how I would define non-financial legacy.
Great point. Dr. Strother.
Yeah, to me, it is those soft things that we offer: kindness, compassion, understanding, knowledge, that will continue on. It's a little bit, I know I can't remember which religious thought it is, but this idea that we all are kind of a part of a web, and that what we're offering in our thing is vibrating out to others. A little kind of touchy-feely, but I think it comes back to the idea that the words that we say to people, the ideas that we share, are as powerful as dollars in the bank. That would be my interpretation of it.
When I think of legacy, it brings to mind leaving responsibilities for families to bear after one is deceased. It can also be in terms of good and bad names left behind, and that can affect health, right? Good and bad name left behind. Great comment. Randolph, and then Sonny.
I think, it's funny that there's an old saying that like mind thinks alike. Dr. Struthers, in his response, talked about the importance of words and using language to pass on knowledge. When I think of a non-financial legacy, I think about the importance of investing, but not investing financially, but invested in your family with love, care, appreciation, all those soft things that we're talking about tonight. That's important too. And when people start thinking about the same way you can be aggressive to invest financially, and I talk to people about that all the time, but it's also important to invest that knowledge that, like my mom did, like I said, short period of time. In the 10 years, she invested her love in me. Because I grew up in a different era, I try to invest more financially in my children. I think I have to now look at reversing some of that, because I think it's important for them to not place a high value in money and financial things, but also bring them back around to invest in and their love within each other.
When I think about non-financial legacy and non-financial assets, I also think about the network. What network do you have that you're going to leave behind as well? You've had this saying that it's all about who you know. Where you go, or the promotions that you get, the opportunities that you get, in most cases, it's all about who you know. So who do you know? What kind of network are you going to build that you're going to leave behind as well? And also beliefs and values. What kind of values do you have that you're going to leave behind? What kind of memories are you building, right? What kind of memories are you building? Are you taking time to really connect with your loved one on a deeper level? Other than saying, how are you doing? Are you really asking how you're feeling? And let me try and really understand how you're feeling and see how I can be there for you. So that is something that really resonated with me, non-financial legacy. And I think Dr. Kojo, you had something to say to that before we go to the next question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I agree with everybody and their thoughts. And I think with the non-financial, legacy, it looks like a lot of us have had parents who have worked hard and instilled things in us that we still remember to this day. And I think that goes deeper than, the money. And of course, like, we should do our best to leave our kids with, enough resources to take care of themselves. If you leave your child with like $1 million, then they have $1 million. That's for your family. But if you leave your child with the intangibles and the knowledge for them to, be the best version of themselves, they can inspire tons of people outside of like your immediate family. So I think the non-financial legacy actually goes deeper and further than just the actual money.
All right, so question number 5. Finland has been rated as the happiest country in the world, right? And they 3 years in a row: diet, exercise, adequate sleep, sense of community. what can we do to foster? What are some practical steps that the attendants can take today, moving forward, on how to create a great sense of community?
I would say just to remember the importance of it takes a village to raise a child, right? I don't know that any of us are here without our village. And I think when I look at the way in which the current generation, Gen Y and Gen Z, how they move about the world, they are socially tied, but interpersonal connections are very, very limited, right? But it takes a village. And so who are those people that are around you that you're spending time with? You know, they say your network is your net worth. So I would say, let's just remember that it takes a village. And I would tell them that, you know, if you show me the 5 people closest to you, they are going to determine the trajectory that you have in life. So if you're trying to achieve a certain goal or become a certain type of person, you have to surround yourself with people that are going to elevate you. In order to do that, get out in front of people. We live in a world where the digital connections rule everything. So interpersonal connections are that much more valuable. I go to conferences that I don't know anybody that's attending, and go and sit at tables with people and actually talk and have conversations face to face and nurture relationships that way. I think that that's probably the best thing that any young person can do. We all are ruling the digital world, but go out and get in front of people, touch, feel, make those interpersonal connections, and grow your network that way.
Go ahead, Randall.
So one of the things that I wanted to add to this discussion is that we cannot, we need to, some people, we as a community has to stop fighting with things that we cannot change. And so sometimes people take on problems that they can't fix. I mean, I know as a child I used to always wonder, even as a kid, why is the Israelis and the Muslim community fighting? Why is that? And it used to bother me. And after a while I said, you know, I can't solve that problem. You got to let it go. You know, I got to focus on the things that I can change, you know, and then hopefully, you know, we talk about that country that is doing so well. You know why they're doing so well in so many different areas? Social conditioning. The government made a decision from the top down that we're going to do social conditioning in a positive way, and we're going to have positive stories, we're going to do positive things, and we're going to develop our community through social conditioning. When you have communities that are tearing and want to fight each other and tear each other down, like the lion behind your head, that can tell you that that's part of, you know, the strength that you have in your socially conditioning yourself to say, I am going to be strong like that lion. And I can see through that. And others would see through that. So you're gonna pass that on, and you're not fighting things that you cannot change.
Dr. Strother and Dr. Kojo?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, I like the point that Dr. Isaac made with the social anxiety as something that can prevent you from, you know, going out there and expanding. I just want to add, you know, there's a study that a good friend of mine had done. She's a psychiatrist out here at UCLA, and it actually showed that just by complimenting people, you know, it could help to reduce feelings of social anxiety. And when you think about it, it's interesting because if you go and compliment somebody and say, oh, nice shoes, nice glasses, you know, nice car, or whatever the case may be, there's a low chance of them like saying, get away from me, or I don't want to talk to you. Because that's a very nice thing to say. You know, the chances of somebody not receiving that compliment well is very low. So sometimes that can be an icebreaker and get you in, and maybe you can start to find your way, because sometimes in your head you're thinking that people are thinking these things of you, or they're judging you in social situations. But if you start with a compliment, they may compliment you back, and that could be a way of, you know, expanding. And I know I've made friends just from talking, or, you know, compliment somebody about their shoes, or saying, oh, I have the same pair. And then, you know, I've made lifelong friends who play basketball, and, you know, you can get into so many social circles just by being kind. So I think a simple compliment is a good place to start.
It's the responsibility to serve someone by being like, let's not wait for someone to smile. Let's be the first person to smile. Those of us that know better. Go ahead, Dr. Stroud, and then Sonny will wind us in the last question.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of echo that. I think a lot of the world, and especially with now social media, people are very comfortable talking about social anxiety and depression. But I think kind of that idea of engaging in person, that's one of the treatment recommendations I make for students, and I would recommend even other people that are like non-students, is to go out in the world and be connected, find community, kind of like what everyone is just saying. So I'm just kind of repeating, but the action step of face-to-face is huge that we don't get from just the video screen.
With that being said, Dr. Kojo, did you have anything you wanted to add on that before I go to the last question?
I will say about failure real quick. Sometimes people try to avoid failure, and sometimes you're worried about what people will think about you, or what. Sometimes it's like who you're afraid to fail. Like when you fail, like who's gonna see it? Sometimes for me, like failing fast has been like a cheat code in life for me. And the more you fail, like I'm comfortable failing. So now I tell my family members and friends that when I post a video, I feel like I can't miss. And some of the videos still do bad, but I'm not like ashamed. If the video is bad, the next one will be good. But sometimes trying to avoid failure can sometimes hold you back. And then, the anxiety kicks into you wanting to be a perfectionist with everything. So if you can be comfortable with failure, I think that could be something that could help somebody.
Absolutely. Here at M.I.C, we always use the hashtag legacy of change. What non-financial legacy would you like to leave, and what steps are you taking to attain that? And I'm going to start with Dr. Isaac, and then Dr. Kojo and Dr. Strother.
So I have 3 children, 3 boys, and I think the thing that I talk with them the most about is being a compassionate human. We don't have enough compassion in the world. We live in a world where everybody is focused on right now, me, I. We say I a lot. And I try to tell the children to think about your interactions with people in a way in which people are better served by having some interaction with you. And I find that I move about the world in that way. I have poured a lot of goodwill into people, and much of the success that I've accomplished is because of that.
I think that's fantastic. And I'll add, I guess I'll go with authenticity, to be as authentic as possible, because, if you're struggling with a certain thing, there's a good chance that other people are struggling with that as well. But if nobody speaks out, you're going to be thinking that you're the only one going through a certain thing. And then you don't have that sense of community. And then you may tend to isolate even more because you're ashamed about whatever you're going through. But when you live your life, as authentically as possible, you're not worried about what people can say, because like you're living it and you're being true to yourself, and that will inspire people to be themselves and not have to feel like they need to be somebody or they need to mirror what they see online. So just by being the most authentic version of myself, I hope to inspire people to do the same.
Yeah, I would say I think the work that I've chosen to do, work with clients. We call them clients. People used to call them patients. Also, I train future therapists. That's part of our program here at the university. We have people that are getting their master's or doctorates, and we have them in training. So I guess, once again, it's soft skills, teaching people how to be good therapists, but there's actually, it's a kind of a mixture of art and science. So I find a lot of hope for the future with people I'm working with, and also the students, and if you want to call them patients that I'm working with. So that's kind of my way to leave a non-financial legacy.
The world is not an easy place for a lot of people, especially folks of the African descendant community. And I think it's important to recognize, just like Dr. Dust has that lion there behind him that represents strength. I would like to leave that non-financial legacy to my children and my grandchildren, to always remember that the strong survives, and try to be strong with whatever you're dealing with, and get to know oneself.
Perfect, thank you so much. And personally, on top of the platform that we have here at Menimpactchange, the non-financial legacy that I want to leave is compiling the experience that I've had building this organization and sharing to the community. So again, thank you to each one of you. I really, really appreciate your time.